One of the key notions in algebra is the notion of an expression. So let's take a moment to think about what an expression is. An expression is a sequence of mathematical symbols that represents a number. Alright, so what do we mean by mathematical symbols, and what does it mean to represent a number? The mathematical symbols that might be included in an expression include numerals, right? So by that I mean things like 287, 2/3, 0.12. So just any way of expressing a number using a combination of digits and fraction bars and decimal points. Those are kind of the most basic mathematical symbols. We also have symbols for operations: plus, minus, times, divided by, the little dot that we sometimes use for times, other symbols for other operations. I didn't put the radical into the list, but that's a symbol for an operation, namely taking the root. Mathematical symbols might also include things like variables, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and generally other symbols that we define to represent numbers or other expressions. For the moment, we will be most interested in these two, because these are the two that we've met so far. We also need to think for a minute about what it means to represent a number. To represent a number just means that if we know the meaning of all the symbols, and then we perform all the arithmetic, we will end up with a numeric result. So let me give you some examples of expressions. And these are numeric expressions because they contain only numerals and symbols for operations. So the simplest example of a numeric expression is just a number. So 7, 283, 4/3, 6.54. Individual numerals are the simplest sorts of numeric expressions. Another expression that is equal to 7 would be 3 plus 4. The expanded form is an example of an expression. We could go really complicated: 1/5 plus 7/3 plus 0.2 minus 81 plus 14 to the third power. Still an expression. All of those objects that we were working out when we were working on order of operations, all of those were numeric expressions. So the notion of an expression is actually a very simple one. You should take a moment to make yourself comfortable with this term. Say it out loud. And whenever you see one of these things, get yourself in the habit of thinking, oh, that's an expression. It is worthwhile to keep in mind what kind of object you're dealing with whenever you're working in algebra.